Linebacker, they're actually going to be very strong at linebacker, even with losing Raekwon McMillan. They actually have 3 starters coming back when you count in Booker, who started last year, got hurt week 1, lost his starting job to Jerome Baker as he just healed. So he'll get a medical red shirt for last year. The big move with the linebackers is Chris Worley moving from the outside to middle linebacker. All reports are he's done good. He's a guy that's kind of bounced around. He came into Ohio State as a safety, played there for a little bit as a backup, moved down to linebacker, really was able to showcase his speed, put on a little bit of weight. Now he's moving to the middle, and everyone says he looked good. I thought during spring he looked really good. There was one play in particular where I believe Weber got the ball like on the 2, and Worley was able to step up into the hole and just stuff him and push him back. So that kind of alleviated at least a little bit the concern that Worley might be a little too small for that middle linebacker spot. He said that he put on some weight and he's good for it, and he kind of showed it there because Weber is a very strong runner, and he's kind of hard to stand up and push back like he was by Chris Worley. Backing them up, it's going to be interesting. A few people injured during the spring, so we didn't get to see them. One guy, you got Justin Hilliard, who probably is going into that middle linebacker spot. As we talked about last week, I thought Justin Hilliard had one of the best spring games out of all the Buckeyes. Another former 5-star outside linebacker moving into the middle. Looks like he's finally healthy. Looked very fast. I mean, he looked incredibly fast for a linebacker. He was filling gaps and, causing all kinds of problems. You've also got Keandre Jones, who is a redshirt freshman or a sophomore. He was part of last year's recruiting class. I think he'll probably wind up backing up Jerome Baker. And then kind of the unheard of guy out there at outside linebacker is Harrison, who had a great spring practice, was really coming on, but then he got hurt, so didn't get to play all of spring. But I think he's going to really come on and be that backup outside there to Dante Booker.
So does this make Worley the most important player on the defense, just because there's so much talent, especially at defensive end, that if Jalen Holmes, for whatever reason, somebody gets hurt, or let's say I'm just picking on Jalen Holmes, is subpar and just doesn't, for whatever reason, have the kind of, well, you got 5 or 6 other guys, and not all of them are going to have subpar seasons. They're going to have 4 or 5 guys just because they've already proven and they're so talented. So they're so stacked there. And the secondary is so stacked as well from a talent standpoint that if Sheffield or whomever you want to choose, it doesn't show up this year, there's plenty of guys to go to. But because of who he's replacing and because of the importance of the position and making the calls, and because it's a bit thin, you think Worley's that guy?
I think he is, because really outside of Chris Worley, guys that are, upperclassmen with a lot of experience all reside on the defensive line. And it's hard to really be a vocal leader on the defensive line. And the DBs, Damon Webb's back there, but he's fighting for his job right now. Chris Worley is the guy that is the vocal guy, the guy that's been starting for the past couple years. Senior, redshirt senior, been around for a while. So he's going to be relied heavily on to keep all those DBs in line, keep the linebackers in there. Just to kind of take that role that Raekwon McMillan held last year, that he did such a good job on early on until Marshawn Lattimore and Hooker, those guys kind of got their feet wet. So, the Buckeyes were in the same situation last year. They had experience up front. They had Raekwon McMillan, but around him, you had 2 new starters. So DB was replacing 3 guys back there. So he's got to step into that role, and that's why they moved him to the middle linebacker spot, because he is a guy that can step into that vocal leader role, and he knows the defense and can get everyone in position.
All right, Brandon Zimmerman from the Buckeye Battle Cry getting us set on the 2-deep depth chart for the Buckeyes on defense heading toward August. Brandon, it's always a good discussion, and we will see you next week.
All right. Thank you, Mark.